and it's time to move into the sport of boxing as Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Luis Ortiz this weekend. Labor Day weekend is going down on Sunday at this. It's not Staples. They changed the name. And I know it's not SoFi. They changed the name. See, I need some help here, bro.
Talking about the Crypto Center?
Crypto Center. There we go. Crypto. Anyway, Zay, I'm so excited, man. I'm excited for this fight. You know, I was asked, salute to Anthony. He's been on our show, on our platform. I've been on his platform on Monday. You know, he asked me what fight, because there's a lot of fights coming up. Canelo, Triple G, Savannah Marshall, and Clarissa Shields. You know, you also got a couple other fights. Deontay Wilder, Hellenius. Which fight are you looking forward to the most? And I said this one. And there's a lot of reasons why I said this one. The styles. Cuban boxer, Mexican boxer, going at it. I can't wait. And Zay, it's time to play. The first thing I want to do here is say that I believe both fighters need this fight. I do. You know, you talk about Luis Ortiz. Let's start with him. One of the most avoided heavyweights there is out there, right? Haven't really got, outside of Wilder twice, the big fights. Everybody's avoided him. And Wilder fought him twice, and he had his opportunity. They almost won both, you can argue. And there's no room for error. You know, I thought the last performance he had was probably his worst, for sure. It didn't look like his legs was beneath him. You know, the age started to creep up a little bit against Charles Martin, but the power was still there. And he got Charles Martin out of there. So I think for Luis Ortiz, it's imperative. He has to look good. He has to get a knockout. He has to. Because if you knock out Andy Ruiz, now it creates a demand for the fight. Now it's not high risk, low reward. Now it's like high risk, but it could be a potential high reward. So he has to knock out Andy Ruiz. He cannot look like he did in the last fight and lose. He has to win out. It's almost like you're trailing, you know, like the Patriots in the Super Bowl against the Falcons. You're down 21-3. You can't lose. You gotta go from here. You gotta win out. And that's what Luis Ortiz has to do. Andy Ruiz needs his fight too. I can argue. You know, when you think about Andy Ruiz, you know, he had his opportunities. He was literally at the top. Believe it or not, he won the belts from Anthony Joshua. Biggest upset, one of the biggest upsets of all time in boxing. And he lost it. So now he needs to win this fight. You lose to Luis Ortiz. Guy's 43, I know. Age ain't nothing but a number. Ain't nothing but some digits. But you lose to that guy. It's not going to look well for you. You're going to be moving down instead of moving up. So both fighters need this fight.
Yeah, you know, I agree 100%. Both fighters need this fight for similar reasons, though. But I think for Andy Ruiz, I think he needs this fight to solidify himself as one of the heavyweights. You know, I think it was always Wilder, Fury, and everyone else. And I think Ortiz was like one of the next guys there. You know, before Usyk, of course, came up and made his claim to the throne. But I think it was Ortiz after Fury and Wilder, because I felt like same sentiments you shared. Ortiz was one of the more avoidable fighters, but then when he was fighting these other heavyweights, he was beating them up senselessly. This guy was just knocking them out, put him away, fight by fight by fight. It just seemed like Wilder was the gatekeeper for Ortiz is reaching that next level, and it always felt like that. And I think right here between him and Ruiz, if you know, and I meant to say Ortiz, but I meant to say Ruiz, him fighting Anthony Joshua, put him in a different light. And then after that, he's been beating guys up left and right. But then when I talked about Luis Ortiz, he was the one that was putting guys to sleep left and right. You know, literally adding the Z's to his name each fight that he was going. The Z just kept on going. Right now, he probably got 40 Z's on his last name. It just goes on forever. But I think this fight is good for the fans. It's also good for the hype, because the winner of this match is definitely primed for that heavyweight contention. You know, they got to have to fight Usyk. I think for me, that'll be the easiest guy to target, since we don't know what the availability for Tyson Fury is right now. We don't know if he's fighting again. We don't know if he's going to relinquish the belts. We don't really know anything about what Fury's doing at this current juncture. So we don't know what's going to happen, but I don't like the idea of Ruiz or Ortiz fighting a Fury fresh off this fight. I'd rather them seeing Usyk. It'll seem more of a style clashing fight where it's both technical fighters. It's a heavyweight, so it could be a knockout. It could be a great fight to watch both ends. And that's something I'm really looking forward to see future-wise. But just looking right into this weekend, I think Ruiz and Ortiz is exactly what the boxing community needs. Two great boxers who are, guys who've shown us excellence when they enter the ring. And, guys who have been stopped by other guys that we looked at one point were the kings of the heavyweight division are now both fighting to claim that throne of who's coming up next to contend for that belt. And I think Ortiz and Ruiz fight in September on Labor Day weekend is a great way to walk into September.
It is a great way. And both fighters need to fight. That's what makes it even more intriguing. When there's nothing on the line, sometimes it's hard to motivate the public and motivate yourself. There's a lot on the line here. I think when you talk about, just everything with this fight, before we get to the predictions, I'm on my way there. I think one of the biggest things about each fighter, I want to pivot here. For Luis Ortiz, what's underrated about Luis Ortiz's game is that he's actually a good boxer. A lot of people look at the power, the knockout power. Yeah, he got that. But he can box too. And there's not a lot of guys that I can say that about that can box, win 12 rounds, both offensively, defensively, movement, and can knock your ass out. Like, I can't see that with a lot of fighters, right? He has that. So I think that's very underrated about his game. He can win a boxing match against Ruiz. Now, when you go to Andy Ruiz, the thing that I like about him that's most underrated is his adjustments. I know Andy Ruiz has those moments where he could get cut, where he could get caught, but he gets up and he brings it to you. Anthony Joshua won. He hit the mat. He got back up, brought it to Joshua. Last fight against Chris Arreola, he touched the mat. He got back up, brought it to Arreola, won that fight, all-out war. His adjustment making is pivotal. And we all know he's a counterpuncher as well. He can box his ass off as well. It's a great fight. But if I had to give you a prediction right now, this is tough. I like both fighters. I respect both fighters. Both of these guys are my guys. This is a flat-out, honest opinion of how I view it and see it. I'm going to go Luis Ortiz here. I don't think this goes the distance either way. I can see either guy getting a knockout. I'm going Luis Ortiz via 8th round KO. I just think that the experience is going to pay dividends in this fight. Not that Andy Ruiz don't have experience, but Ortiz been in the game for a hot minute. He's seen the styles, every style there is to see. He went up against Wilder, the hardest hitting heavyweight in the world. I understand Andy Ruiz went up against Joshua, but Joshua does come with some limitations. Joshua is slow, okay? The volume that Ruiz throw is not made and equipped for Anthony Joshua. Ortiz can literally give him back what he's given. So I'm going to go with Ortiz. I'm going to take the experience. I'm going to take the guy that needs it more, even though they both need it. I'm going to take the guy with the most to lose.
I think every point you just made, 100% accurate, and I agree with it. But I think that's why Andy Ruiz wins this fight, because it's more pressure for Luis Ortiz to win. And if he doesn't, it may be a career ender if he loses this fight. He may retire if this fight is lost. And, that's something that I don't want to see, because I think Luis Ortiz fights are really interesting to watch. I think he's really electrifying for the sport of boxing. But I think Andy Ruiz, for every point you just listed, he has the momentum walking into this fight to win, for the fact that he just has to be Andy Ruiz, a guy who throws volume, a guy who gets close, a guy who throws punches, and a guy who needs to land them. I think that's something that Ruiz has done. He's accurate with his punches. He don't throw just to throw them. He's somebody who, when he makes contact, he hurts him. The only issue I have is, what is Andy Ruiz's weight looking like? When he started to shrink down in weight, you saw that he couldn't take those body punches that he once was able to take, and he wasn't able to do certain things at one point that when he had the weight. So I have to see what kind of shape is Ruiz going into this Luis Ortiz fight, because you have to be in the best shape possible to endure those punches that Luis Ortiz is going to throw. So that's something with Andy Ruiz for me. But I got Andy Ruiz winning in the ninth round, as a technical knockout. So it's going to be between rather Luis Ortiz got a bloodied eye, or he has a broken bone or something he can't continue. I think that's going to be the fight. It's going to be one of those like medical stoppages. I think Ruiz is going to do some damage in this weekend.
It's very interesting, the point that you brought up about Ruiz, and how can I say, I'm blanking. I think it's about my time to skedaddle in a minute. But there's a point that you made about Ruiz that I want to kind of remember what you said. But it's about him, coming forward. And Ruiz, he has a tendency to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And Ortiz does too at times. Both guys have the tendency to sleep. But it's going to be very interesting because both are not quitters.
Mm-hmm.
Both are not quitters. Both come off the mat. And Ruiz, yes, this is the point that you made about the weight. You see, the weight it wasn't about the weight and how he beat Anthony Joshua the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It was about the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to win this fight. I'm going to get up off the mat. I'm on the mat right now. It's Madison Square Garden. Everybody's cheering. I can either stay on this mat or I can get my ass up and bring the fight to Joshua. Which one am I going to do? And win the belts. He got up. He said, that's what I'm going to do. He looked intimidated at one point. He was looking up at Joshua. It's not easy to be that weight on the mat, looking up at a Greek god 6'5". That's intimidating, bro. I just lay down, play that. You know what I'm saying? Get me up out of here, bro. I'm going home. I'm going to White Castle. Nah, he got up off the mat, brought the fight to Anthony Joshua. It's about the mindset. Can the weight make a difference? A little bit. But it's about the mindset. If the mindset is kill, and go for it, then he will win the fight. But right now, I got Ortiz. But we can agree to disagree. I'm looking forward to a great fight regardless. I don't care who wins. I want to see a great fight. I want to see a heavyweight bout. And we're going to get that on Labor Day Eve. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not naive. It's time to get up out of here.